welcome back. This is episode 12 now of the What Does It Take podcast. And today is going to be a pretty cool episode. We're going to be basically talking about natural bodybuilding and if it has any sort of similarities or any potential considerations compared to assisted bodybuilding, especially within contest prep. And the rise of natural bodybuilding, because there is a lot more natural bodybuilding federations now, which I think is amazing. Potential differences between them, and we can go through those as well. So to talk about natural bodybuilding, of course, we've got to get the main man in, Reece Kyffin. Was that it?
That's right. Yeah, you got it right, mate. Well, you got it right.
We had to talk before we started recording in case I fucked it. I completely forgot already how to say it, but that was fine, right?
Yeah, you got it. You got it, mate. You got it.
So, welcome to the pod, mate. It's great to have you on. Do you want to give a little intro?
Yeah. So, hello everyone. My name is Reece Kyffin, as Matt said correctly. I'm an online coach. I've been a PT for about 3 or 4 years. I transitioned to online in September, so kind of new to this online game. Obviously, I'm a natural competitor as well, which is obviously what we're going to be talking a bit about today. That's pretty much it, really. That's pretty much it to do with me.
You've been competing since, I think it was 2019. Was that your first season?
Yes, that was my first season, yeah.
Because although we didn't see each other that year, we both did UK Up in 2019. Well, all 3 of us did.
Yeah. I saw you at finals, didn't I? At finals. Was it finals I saw you at?
It must have been, yeah, because I don't think we were at the same regional. But obviously, Reece has always been a junior.
Yes,
so
yes.
We've never actually been on stage together. But that could potentially change. I mean, I think you'll be in a shorter category anyway, actually, won't you?
Yeah, I think I'm medium because I'm 175 centimeters, so I don't know where that falls. But I will be competing as a men's open physique this year.
This year, okay. Also, it's confirmed you're definitely going in this year. We'll get into that. It's really, really exciting. But you had a great season last year. I think it's definitely worth covering that actually, because obviously, yeah, Reece is a natural competitor. And you did unnatural shows, and you did really bloody well. Obviously, I don't want to blow too much smoke up your ass, mate, because it's our podcast, so I want to look. But you did really bloody well. So yeah,
thank you.
Talk about your season, mate.
So I started prep pretty much straight after Christmas last year, which was good because I mean, you guys are probably the same and probably similar for a lot of people, but I work best when I've got structure, when I've got a plan, I know what I'm doing. So it's nice to come out of Christmas straight into prep. So prep for about 4 months, competed in 2 shows in April, obviously did the PCA Southwest, and also did the UK UP Southwest as well, or Southern show, I think they call it. So the first one was the UK UP show. That was actually, I competed in the men's open physique category as well, which was the first time doing that. So I was kind of like, fuck it, why not? I'll just see how it goes. So did that first actually, and won that, which was really, really good. Like a bit of a shock really, because there were some really good guys on there with a lot more muscle than I do. But I think just because I tend to come in with a good level of condition, I think that kind of edges it a little bit, especially with UK UP. So there was that, I did that. And then obviously on the same day, probably about an hour later, I did the juniors, which I was actually more scared for because I'd competed against one of the guys previously and he'd improved so much. And I was like, right, I've just won the men's category. I've got the juniors, but arguably at a harder standard. So I was shitting myself a bit. I was kind of like, right, I can't win the men's and not do the juniors in a bit of an arrogant way. So but yeah, and ended up winning that and was really happy and did really, really well. And then the following weekend or 2 weekends after, did the PCA Southwest. Once again, came up against Liam, the guy that I just competed against in the juniors at UK UP. It was only us two in the junior category, which was a bit disappointing because I like a bit of a bigger lineup, to be honest. But yeah, won that, went to overalls, and then somehow took the overall as well against some really, really high standard athletes. So I was absolutely buzzing with that.
So yeah, this is why I want to talk about this one, because I was at the same shows. So I did the PCA show as well. It was 3 shows back to back. I did with quite a few people. So I was at that UK Up show, then did FitX, and then did the PCA show. And what was great about that PCA show is because, so Reece took the overall, which was fucking great because I did my category. And it was a bit busy. I think there was 7 of us. Yeah. I came second, which I was happy with because the guy that won, Brad, you probably remember Brad. He was a bit of a monster.
I do, yeah.
He was like,
He was over 20 kilos heavier than me on stage.
That's it. So
Crazy.
he's 95 kilos on stage, which
That's
for
mad.
that's a big weight. Because he's about my height as well. So he's about 6 foot. So that's a decent size. And he
Great physique as
definitely,
well.
yeah, he was in condition. He was shredded.
Mm.
And this goes to prove that size isn't everything, because Reece beat him. They went in the overall and then Reece beat him. So yeah, 20 kilos difference there. So there's a bit of a David and Goliath situation.
Yeah, it was. It was funny because at the UKUP show, he took the overall there. So I remember him putting an Instagram story up like, "Well done, Reece, 1-1. We'll have to face each other again a bit further down the line." So that'll be exciting if that happens.
Yeah, 100%. I think he's thinking about going in later this year, which will be good because I'll also be able to have a rematch against him too.
Yeah, yeah. And I might even come up against you guys as well, because as I said, I'll be back in the men's open physique, which will be, you know, it'll be a lot more competitive because you've put on a lot of size since that show.
Yeah, I have put on a bit more, but we've just discussed sizes and everything, so it would be an interesting battle for sure. But I am looking forward to it. How do you feel about transitioning from juniors to open?
I'm glad I did the men's open at UKUP. It gave me a bit of a, I don't know how to word it. I don't want to say like ego boost because that's not the right thing, is it? But it's
Confidence.
Yeah, confidence, I guess. Going right, I know I've done well in like a standard lineup and then a bit of a higher caliber show at PCA. So yeah, it gives you that confidence, but at the same time, it's still obviously you don't know who's going to turn up on the day. There's a lot more people that are going to compete in men's, just as a general perspective, anyway. Because obviously you've got that anyone can compete in men's. So yeah, it's just a case of knowing that I'm doing everything I can do now to put myself in the best position when we get there. So for me, as it is for a lot of people that compete, yes, I've done well and I've won shows, but is that what it's about all the time? Of course, it's not. It's about beating your previous package. So as long as I come in better than what I was last year, I know I've made improvements and I know what I've done has worked. So it would probably be a case of take a couple of years out after this year, slap on some more size, and spend some serious time in a proper growing phase and come back a few years later again and see what difference we've made there.
So the big question is, are you going to be going for, so we'll get into this now, what your plan is for this year? Are you going to be going for more natural shows, or are you still going to go for untested ones? How come you went for untested ones before? Was there a reason for it, or you just like those shows?
So I'll start with the second question. So the reason I've done the untested shows first is basically because of what my coach has done and what he said. He's also natural. My coach is Pete Starring, by the way. So he's natural. He's competed with a couple natural feds a few years ago, but found that they were quite clicky. So unless you're in with the crowd, he kind of found that judging was a bit unfair, and it was never quite consistent. At least when he did it a few years ago. So obviously I've been working with him for both preps, so I've just followed in his footsteps, kind of thing, and just done PCA, UKUP, and I found them really good. This year, though, I will be still doing PCA. In that UKUP show last year, I also won my WP Pro card. So I might hop in one of their pro shows and see how that goes. But I will be getting in some natural feds or some tested feds. So UK DFBA, I want to give a go. Maybe WMBF as well. So it'll probably just be those two. And then I do want to try two bros as well. I'm not a fan of their posing because it's just front and back, which is a bit boring. I do like the overheads and the side shots as well, but I'll probably give that a go just to see what it's like. Probably October, maybe November, because I know they've got a supernatural show, haven't they? So I might hop in that. And yeah, and see where that takes us. So it's probably going to be quite a long, dragged out season. But I just want to kind of give it my all this year and then take a few years to just chill, grow. But yeah, I want to make an impact this year. That's the goal.
That's gonna be a busy year, mate. A really busy year. Sounds like my year last year. I think I did like 10 shows last year. So yes, it's doable, and yeah, be good to see. So I think that's quite a good segue. Actually, we can talk about the different natural federations because there are so many now, and a lot of people don't know about some of them or what the potential differences are between them. So each one obviously give like a pathway to moving up a level, which at the end of the day, I think that is a really good thing for a bodybuilding federation to have a pathway to strive for, to try and escalate to. Because if you just have one-off show or one-off show and then a finals, and then that's kind of it. It's like,
where do you go? Yeah.
kind of want more, don't you? So yeah, there's quite a few different ones. So like you said, there's UKDFBA. They are, I mean, we've been to quite a few of their shows now. Have you been to any yet, Reece?
I've actually not been to any. No, I haven't.
So I like the way that they run things. I really like the fact how they judge it as well. So it's a traditional way of judging. You know, they have the call outs, and they also, the good guys they do bring into the middle. The not so good guys are on the outside. I quite like how they do that sort of thing. Very, very busy shows. So they are fucking long days.
Okay.
Some of them, I think the finals finished at like something like 10 p.m. last year, which is mental. But again, it goes to show how popular natural bodybuilding federations are now. But yeah, so they have their own pro league of their own. So you can get a pro card with them. And then they do international shows. And they're sort of like the pathway to the natural Olympia, which is pretty cool. Which I'm pretty sure is in Las Vegas, which is obviously a really cool thing to strive towards and achieve. So I presume that was the draw for you, was it, Reece?
Yeah, so I've kind of, and that's kind of why I want to experiment, because I don't know when it was. It was obviously, I think one of your clients competed in UKDFBA, and you said, and you were like, oh mate, you should give it a go. And then I seriously thought about it and was like, actually, I don't know why I haven't already, but I will be doing it. And then I sat down earlier this year, obviously we're only 2 weeks in, but a couple of weeks ago, and kind of thought, what do I actually want to do this year? Because I don't just want to compete. Do you know what I mean? I don't compete to lose. Do you know what I mean? I compete because I want to do well, because I want to win. So I kind of want to go into these shows with that thought of, right, can I win these shows? Potentially. Where does that then take you? And as you said, potentially up to the natural Olympia. In my head, saying that, it just sounds a bit far-fetched. But as we've discussed earlier, it's just a case of doing what I've got to do now, or what we've got to do now, to put yourself in the best position to get there. So there's no specific goal essentially to get there, but it's, I guess, essentially that is the goal though, isn't it? Because you're just going to do your best to keep working as much as you can to get as far as you can. So I guess that is the goal.
100%. I think a lot of the time, a lot of people are scared to say what they want to achieve in case they get laughed at or something like that. Like, I know a lot of guys that want to achieve an IFBB Pro card, but they don't say it on their Instagram or anything like that because they're worried what people will say about them. Yeah. But there's nothing wrong with having that end goal. Yes, for some people it might take a long time. Some people it might take a year. There's nothing wrong with sort of saying that. I think a lot of people are quite nervous about saying that sort of thing. But
I think it's good to have like a goal either way, like obviously big or small. But yeah, I think people get scared to say their goals out loud in case, you know, if they say I want a pro card this year and then it doesn't happen, they're out of the fear of failure or fear of other people judging. But at the end of the day, it's your journey to get, no matter how long it takes you, whatever you want to succeed out of it. If you don't put that first thought of just believing you can do it, even the people that are first timers, like I remember when I first decided to compete and I didn't even want to tell anyone. I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks in after starting prep, because I didn't want to tell anyone I was on prep, because I was the girl that was like, oh, I'm dieting and I ate a ton of biscuits. So I was like, no one's going to believe me. And people don't, they're like, oh, she won't do it. So I had to, so to me, I didn't tell anyone until I was like, oh, actually, I think I can do this. But even then, you're still worried in case of what other people say. But at the end of the day, you've got to say these things out loud to believe you can do it yourself. That's the biggest thing, for you to believe it.
I think that's a huge part of it. And that's where people go wrong, because I think a lot of people think things without saying it or writing it or telling people about it. And then before you know it, that's been swept under the carpet and almost forgotten about. But I think it takes a bigger person to set a goal like that and not achieve it, and learn those lessons, continue to improve upon whatever it is the goal is, in this instance, a bodybuilding show. But if they've not won the show, what can you do now to build that physique or build the things that you need to work on to get there? I think it takes a bigger person to, you know, take that L, but learn from it.
100% agree with that. I've said I want to achieve a PCA Pro card this year. It probably won't happen. It might not happen, but that's all right. That's what I'm going for. That's what I want to achieve.
Vision boards as well. Yeah. I fully think like vision boards, when you can, like, you hear all this stuff about manifesting, writing down your goals, like having a vision board. I do think that if it's something you can visually see all the time and it's something that you want,
100%.
Like I said, whether it does or not like happen this year, like it's something that's going to give you that drive and that reason to do it, rather than if you've already started too scared to tell anyone or even too scared to say out loud, then you've already given yourself the self-doubt that you just can't do it. So, you know, it's like that whole fake it till you make it and all that kind of stuff. But it is to a degree, because, you know, you won't know unless you've done it. And it's better to have tried and then maybe not succeeded straight away than constantly be going, what if, or if only, or, you know, all those questions because you've held yourself back out of fear.
Exactly. And it always goes back to that thing, doesn't it, of whatever your goals are, you don't want to be laying on your deathbed thinking, oh, if only. It's more of a, even if you failed it, I tried, worked my ass off for years to do this thing. Did I quite get there? No, but I still did that process. I learned from it and, you know, gave myself a purpose. And I think that's what a lot of people lack. And I do think bodybuilding for a lot of people is a purpose, whether it's just self-improvement for yourself, or it's a mental thing, whether you do want to go and win your pro card, whatever it is, it for a lot of people, it gives them something to wake up, get out of bed, be healthy, eat healthy in a lot of cases, eat food, you know, or eat the right food, and train and look after your body. And that's what it's about.
Definitely a mindset thing with how you see things as well, because like my logic is like I've had so many highs and lows with competing, but you could see like failures as like that's at a dead end of the road, you're not any good at it, or you could be like, what has this taught me? How am I going to learn to keep going forward? And then it makes you not only like a stronger person mentally for it, but makes you a better person for it, because you will come back better just from your mindset with things. If you can set yourself big goals, and so what if you don't achieve them? You're still achieving way more than the people going, oh, I'll do this when, or I'll start this when. Because
Exactly,
even if you failed, you've learned a lesson from it that's going to then spring you forward to keep going forward with it.
And I think that's the major thing to take away, because a lot of people I know, obviously it's a topic that's ever growing, is mental health, isn't it? And I think a lot of people do lose something or they fail at something, and immediately it's, as you were saying, Georgia, it's that self-doubt of, oh, I'm not good enough, oh, I can't do it. But it's not that. It's actually it's perspective and how you look at things, isn't it? And it's actually going, right, rather than, there's two sides to a coin, isn't there? You've got the negative and you've got a positive. Right, we've done the negative, kicking yourself. Now how can we take the positives out of this, and obviously, as we've just said, make those improvements that you need to, take those lessons from it, and just be a better person for it.
Well, it's like my 2021 year, wasn't it? My first show of the season plummeted. Absolutely shit. Came off stage and it was awful.
I'd just like to point out I wasn't coaching at this stage.
No, I went on and Matt took over. And I knew I had 5 weeks between that show and my next one. And everything was already like, calories were low, cardio was high, and I was like, what can I realistically do? And that's when you've got a fork in the road. You can be like, well, sod this, nothing's going to happen. Or you go, right, I'm going to make sure at least whenever I come back, it's going to be better somehow. And I went on winning pro card for NFM and smashed it. Yeah. And then ended the year with Arnold's and coming second. So, you know, and even then, in between them, I did other shows in between then where it was so high and low. Like I got moved classes because I was in between classes, and you know, and there's so many highs and lows with things. I did a 2 road regional before Arnold's, definitely came dead last in the regional, and then did Arnold's and came second in my class. So it is one of those things where you've got to take everything as a whole, maybe assess the reasons why it happened as it did, and then move forward with it, rather than, you know, it is so, what's the word?
Up and down, roller coaster?
Yeah, but as in, so subjective, like competing.
Yeah.
As you've seen, even with you guys, with your, like, obviously, you know, you've got Brad beating you when it came to his size of things, but then when it came to the overall, Reece then went, and it's just everyone's, it's what you bring to the table.
Yeah. That's it. And I was gonna, sorry, Matt, I was quickly going to say on top of your point, Jordan, as well, that obviously, because we spoke the other week as well about the judging in the UK doesn't seem to be as favourable for your physique as it does in other places. But I think that's an issue with some of the federations and their criteria for the women's categories, because a lot of it just, like, I actually went on, right, and I read a lot of the PCA women's criteria, and it was literally copy and paste from one thing to the next. And I was just like, how are a lot of these girls, especially people that are new to it, how do they know what category to go for? Then how then do the coaches know what to look for within that category, within the competitor, to place them first or last or second or whatever? It's kind of, it's a hard one, isn't it? And then that's where, as you said, it is so subjective. It depends on the judges on the day. It depends, you know, you could be that 2% leaner than the person next to you, but then they could take it, and then in the overall, someone else that's leaner beats them. It's kind of like a lot of it is very subjective, isn't it? And especially in the women's, I think it's a case of them needing to narrow the criteria.
Yeah, 100%. We've gone off topic a little bit already.
Yeah, we have. Sorry.
One more point on that, because you are absolutely right. And one scenario, I won't say any names because we don't want to drop anyone in it. But anyway, she did bikini in a PCA regional just a couple of weeks before the PCA final. Those judges on that day told her that she was too big for bikini, moved her up a category. She wasn't happy about it. But she did it, and then I think she came like second or third, and then she did the PCA final. They let her stay in bikini, and she won her pro card. So it just, it's
ridiculous
on the day. Anything can happen on the day. It can go your way, it might not go your way, but who knows what might happen. As long as, like we keep saying, as long as you bring your best, you're proud of your package, that's all you can do. But yeah, so back to the natural bodybuilder fans. We only covered one.
Yeah, bloody hell.
Go back after it.
Yeah.
So number 2 is WNBF. So this is the other one that Reece said that you're going to go for. We were at, I think, 3 of their shows last year. They're a good fed again. They run things slightly differently. So they run things a little bit more similar to how UK Up run things. So basically you have a morning show and then you have an evening show. So yeah, they do split up the day. But again, it's a very fun day. It's a very friendly federation, and they have like a pathway to compete in Los Angeles. So they have basically WNBF is like the governing body, and there's many different countries that have one. So WNBF UK. And if you do well, then you can get qualifications to Worlds, which, as I said, is in Los Angeles. And 2 of our girls did get qualified last year, which was pretty cool. They decided not to go for it because it was quite later in the year, and they were just sort of done with competing by that point.
Yeah,
but it is cool that you have that opportunity to, move up through the ranks there. And
I think it's really cool as well that the federations, like, if you do win a show or get invites, that they take you to another country. I don't know if they pay, I don't know if this expense is paid, but even if it's not, it's still such a sick opportunity. And it's just another reason for people to keep pushing on, isn't it? It's just so sick.
I think some do and some don't. I can't remember off the top of my head if WNBF do. I don't think they do they? Potentially, because they have their own pro system as well. I think
they might pay for the pros.
Yeah, I think they pay for the flights off the top of my head.
Right.
And I think UK DFBA do. If you got your pro card and you do well, I think they pay for you. But yeah, it's again, I think it's federation specific, because not all of them do that by any means.
Yeah, definitely not.
Definitely do your research into that one. So yeah, that's WNBF. So the next one is Two Bros. So Two Bros, basically they've got their untested shows, and then they've got their tested shows, and their natural tested shows are all at the end of the year. So sort of like I think they start at the very end of October, November, and I think is the final in December, or is that in November as well?
It's in November
as well. Cool. So they're pretty good, because obviously they have the IFBB Pro cards, so you can win it as a natural. Now, once you've got your IFBB Pro card, I'm pretty sure there's no IFBB Pro League Natural League. I don't think so. Lumped in with all the big boys.
Yeah, imagine that. There was a men's physique athlete on the Olympia stage this year who was natural. I can't remember his name. You obviously know of him, but I can't remember his name. But he looks silly. But it's just a case of there's almost no point, is there? Because you win your IFBB Pro card as a natural. Obviously, there is a limit to how much size you can actually physically put on your physique. You're going to stand on a pro stage and just get wiped the floor with, basically. But it's still a hell of an achievement.
Massive achievement. I get this question a lot, I'm like, do you think you can like go far in a sport as a natural? And those kind of people do prove it. Getting to the Olympia stage is the pinnacle. And if you're doing that as a natural, you've got elite level genetics. But then you've also got to ask the question, like, if they've got that far as a natural, what would they look like on gear?
Yeah, exactly.
It would be.
That's the thing. There's always that thought, isn't there? Obviously, I don't know how long you've been on now. How long have you been on for?
Properly. So I've dabbled in the past, done it wrong.
Yeah.
Before I did any research into it when I was a lot younger. So properly since the start of last year.
Yeah, so not very long, but there's always that thought, isn't there? I mean, as a natural, of thinking, what would happen if I just did, I don't know, a course of this, or if I started taking it properly, training and living like a bodybuilder, how far could you take it? But then obviously it's weighing up the pros and cons for yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is as well, like, yes, you might have really good genetics for bodybuilding, and as a natural, you go really far. But that doesn't necessarily mean you've got great genetics to take PEDs, because
That's
there's
it, yeah.
such an individual response. Like, some people can take it, get such fucking awesome results. Some other people might take it, they might have to take a lot more than the average person, and they might be really susceptible to side effects as well.
Yeah.
Or psychologically, you know, they just might mentally not be able to handle it. There's so many you know, things that can come into it, and just because they're a natural bodybuilder doesn't mean they're necessarily good. That's where the elite of the elite come into it. Like Ronnie Coleman as a natural was fucking
crazy.
amazing. Then he took gear, and he was like, wanted to gear even better. So like, that's when the best of the best emerge. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean just because you take gear you're gonna get good. Of course, you should improve, especially if you do things correctly, but it doesn't necessarily you're going to go from an average level natural bodybuilder to pro card straight away. Like, it just doesn't work like that, unfortunately. I wish it did. That would be great. But...
yeah, there'd be so many pros then, though.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this is and that's the thing. Sorry, I think that's what people expect, though, isn't it? People expect just, oh, I'm going to start taking this, and I'm going to look a certain way. But before you even consider that, there's so many other pillars to bodybuilding that you need to focus on before adding this another one in that you're going to have to focus on. You know, sleep, obviously your nutrition, your training, you know, whatever else there is. Are you really going to complicate things if you're not even got those things on point yet? It's silly. And
that's the thing, not to stereotype guys, but normally guys are normally the ones that just like, let's jab and let's fix all my problems. And they don't eat, they don't sleep properly, they don't allow recovery, they ego lift, and then they
exactly
look like crap.
we all know guys in the gym, unfortunately, that do slam gear. We've known they've slam gear for years and years, and they always look the same.
Yeah,
it's because they don't have those foundations and fundamentals in place. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and then I think people almost use that as an excuse to not have to do those things sometimes. They think, oh, I'm taking this, I don't really need to train properly or eat properly because I look good anyway.
Like it's picking up the slack.
Yeah, exactly. But it's almost like, well, why did you get into this then? Why did you get into the gym? Was it not for like, I want to look better, feel better, be healthier? At least that's the start for a lot of people, isn't it? But then you throw that into the mix and take those other aspects out, and then it's like, actually, you're just fucking yourself up.
It's ruining your health.
We've done it again.
Subject
again. So the next one is ICN. So this one isn't as sort of well known. So it stands for I Compete Natural, and I think they only have like 2 shows in a year. But they have international opportunities as well. I don't think it's paid for by any means, and those shows are slightly smaller. So if you are looking at natural shows and you're definitely dead set on doing a natural show for a first time, that could potentially be an option for you, because sometimes it's nicer to do quieter shows, dip your toes in the water and see what it's like. We've not been to one, but we do know people that have competed with them, and they say that it's a nice friendly show. You ever heard of that one?
I've heard of them, as in I've heard of them and that's it. Like I've not heard anything else about them or anything. I don't want to take us on another tangent. But that's what I wanted to say is, if you are a first timer looking to compete, I do think federations with that like community feel is definitely the place to go. Like the best experience for me from a community standpoint, from a friendliness standpoint, was UKUP, 100%. And then it sounds like WNBF are kind of that way inclined as well. So yeah, definitely, I think that's, if you are a first timer, that's definitely something that should be up for consideration.
Yeah, let's go down this tangent, because I think it's a good subject.
Okay.
Not about UK out.
We always say UK out. First time is such a friendly show. You're absolutely right. You know, they give pizza after the show. We've made friends for life from UK up, and like everyone just like the guys that run it. They actually just want you to have a good time. They genuinely care about each individual.
It's a community thing, and like they invest back into the competitors. So even like for me now, because obviously that was my first time competing in 2019, and we've supported with our clients going and doing them, and we've shared their posts and things like that. To the point now, we've not only supported them, they've supported us with our growth, that now I'm helping with some posing seminars this year because they've seen how much I've grown and I want to give back to them. And it's just, it is such a nice community feel. Like it's always such a fun vibe at the show. So for a first timer, it's so good because you are just going to have loads of fun with it.
Yeah, I think I've spoken about this before. Like, I'm not gonna name a specific fed because it's just not a very smart decision. I don't want to bash a federation, but we did have a client compete last year with a natural fed. She really wanted to do this show. We didn't recommend it as her first show, but she wanted to do it. So, you know, of course, we just supported her on that decision. She did it and she hated it. She hated the whole experience. Backstage, it was very stale and sour. Like everyone was pretty much just there to do the job. Like there was no socializing, and she almost wanted to quit bodybuilding after that experience. We persuaded her to not and do UKUP 2 weeks later. She fucking loved it, didn't she? She had the best day ever and she's hooked on bodybuilding. So like
out there in a diva.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's how much difference there can be between the federations. So you do need to pick the right one.
Especially for your first time, because you're going in like just yes, if you can watch YouTubes and you can go watch some shows and stuff, you can gather like vibes and stuff, but prep is bloody hard and you're doing it all essentially for 3 minutes on a stage, like all that time, 4, 5, 6 months prep for a very limited time on stage. So you want to make sure that when you're putting all that work in, it's for a good reason. At least if you're doing other feds like second time round or even afterwards, you know what you're expecting. So if it shouldn't really be clicky at all. Like I've like NFM, I've even done 2 bros shows and stuff, and I've made some of the most amazing friends with girls. But for your first show, your confidence can definitely hit in. So it can be more nerve-wracking because you're not unless you are quite a confident person, but for me, I wasn't. So it can be a bit nerve-wracking to reach out and try and make friends with people. So it helps when the environment is a good energy vibe. But yeah, it is one of those things that if you're a little bit more nervous, because at least when you do your prep again and you do other seasons, you're already going in knowing what to expect. So you might naturally be more confident to make more friends and things. But yeah, the first show, the energy and the vibe that you're going to get from the show is something that wants to just build your confidence up. So you have fun with it. That's what it is. If you're a first timer, unless you've done like, you've been coaching for 2 years and you've done a massive off season and you know what exactly you're getting into and you've been to all the shows, at the end of the day, you're doing it for fun to see if you like it or not. So you don't have to put pressure on yourself to absolutely kill it and come away with a pro card. You just need to get on stage and prove something to yourself that you can do that.
And I think if you are a fan of bodybuilding and you enjoy the training side of it, you don't want to put yourself off by going to one of those federations that potentially may put you off, as you said, from your client's experience. If she wasn't with you, if she was with another set of coaches or another coach, she may have potentially turned away from bodybuilding because that coach may not have been as supportive as you guys are. So yeah, that's why I think it's super important that if you do compete and you love bodybuilding, don't just get the taste of one show and think, right, this isn't for me. Give it a couple goes if you want to, and just make sure that community is right. Because at the end of the day, as you were saying, Georgia, everyone goes through 4, 5, 6 months of prep, hard work. Everyone has gone through that same process. Enhanced, natural, whatever. The process is pretty much the same, isn't it? You're going through that harsh, horrible dieting. You feel like shit. You're tired. You can't be asked. You want to give up. Everyone's in the same boat. So to go to the right federation community where you can talk to people and make friends is so important.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know if you've noticed this, Reece. It does happen a fair bit. Obviously, I don't want to, again, I'm not going to say any names, but some specific coaches, especially the top coaches, do have their favorite federations that they usually put people in for. And it is kind of political reasons. We know it is. You know, they might only put their clients in 2 rows, or they might only put their clients in for PCA. And I'm not a massive fan of that, just because, again, that specific client might not be for that federation. Like, imagine your first ever show being a high-level 2 bro show. You're not going to have a great time, are you? You're most likely going to get smoked if you're up against really high-level people as your first show. And just because that coach is trying to do it for political reasons, I'm not a big fan of that. So definitely do your own research as well. Just because your coach tells you to do one specific show, ask them why. Ask them why would you like me to do that show. Do your own research into it as well. If you have your own opinions of shows, bring that up to your coach as well and say, I potentially want to do this one because, what do you think? And they should give you an unbiased opinion. Don't just do the high level shows just because your coach tells you to. There is levels to this game. There's levels to bodybuilding, and you can't go straight to the top, because likelihood is you're not going to have a good experience for your first ever show. That's my opinions on it anyway. I don't know if you two agree.
Yeah, definitely. No, definitely. I do agree. And then it's almost going back to what I was saying at the start with the reason why I've not done the untested federations is because of my coaching experience. But obviously this year I'm going, actually, no, I want to give this a go and see what it's like. Obviously I just want to do it because I just want to kind of spread myself out and see what other federations are like. But that's obviously the point we're trying to say, isn't it? Is try different things, see where you fit in best, see where you feel best. Because obviously if you feel good mentally in that place, you're going to probably perform better on stage as well and look better, because obviously as we know, things like stress can have a big impact to a physique. So if you're getting stressed backstage, comparing yourself, you're thinking people are judging you, looking you up and down for whatever reason, yeah, push the boat out, try different things, do what you want to do. That's what it's about.
Also, there's so many shows these days, like literally so many. So do your research into the main federations, have a look when their shows are, and go to some. Like, it's like 25 quid, 30 quid ticket. Go be in that like vibe, pick up on the vibe, pick up on the standard, pick up on, you know, how they run a show. And I mean, if you can't, like, that's one of the reasons we did our YouTube last year, was because we had clients doing so many different shows. We YouTubed the day, so not only for the clients, but also so if other people wanted to know about UK Up, if they wanted to know about WNBF or PCA, like, they can get an idea of how the show runs. So we'll be doing the same this year with, you know, all the clients doing different shows, trying to vlog the whole thing. But it is one of those things where if you can see people's show day vlogs, obviously we tried to do a little bit more about how the shows run and an update. Or, yeah, if you are living more up country and you're around it more, there should be shows all the time that are going on around you. So have a little look at what's going on. You know, take a friend, go by yourself. There'll be someone going, like, that you'll know. It is a friendly vibe. You can reach out to people and go watch them. And
that's another big one, isn't it? You can actually just message people. Like, everyone's usually friendly. If someone messaged me out of the blue and said, hey, I'm thinking about doing a show with NFM next year, what is it like? I would give them a very honest review of what it's like. And that's how you can get a good idea as well of what each federation has to offer, by speaking to the people that actually compete with them, because the vast majority of the time we're all a friendly bunch and we want to help out. So yeah, just feel free to reach out to anyone about the different feds.
Definitely.
So we're nearly there on all the different natural bodybuilding feds. So the last one, unless you guys can think of any more, is BNBF. BNBF, I don't think, unless they're bringing it out this year, they don't have bikini or men's physique. So it's mainly for bodybuilding and the bigger categories. But it's another natural bodybuilding federation. I think it's been around a little bit longer. We've not actually personally had any clients in it, just because we mainly coach men's physique and bikini. So we've never needed to go to any. But yeah, that is another avenue. Unless, you guys can think of any other natural feds?
I don't think, no.
There is bound to be another one.
There's going to be. Yeah, there will be.
It'd be interesting if PCA go down that route. I mean, they've already got pretty much a show every weekend, so I don't know if they could. But it would be interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I would think they wouldn't, because of how they've built themselves and how popular they are. They're like the most popular federation in the UK or something now, aren't they?
I think that's certainly the biggest, busiest, I would say. Yeah.
So is there a need for them to do that? Potentially not. And then it's almost, as we said earlier, about working your way up the ranks. Where do they go from there? Do they then give out natural pro cards? Do they compete in the unnatural pros as well? I don't know. But as you said, natural bodybuilding is growing, it is rising. So I do think there is a route for a lot of these federations to go down somewhere. I don't know if it'd be a good move for UKUP, because as we said, they are a very good community-based federation. And I know a lot of the guys that compete there probably aren't looking to go super long-term, super far with it. It's just a case of, I want to give it a go, so I'm going to compete with these guys because they're friendly. So yeah, I would think it would be good for a federation like that to go down a natural route. But yeah, that's my thought.
I think realistically, I'd say at least, I want to say at least 90%, maybe 95% of people that do UK are natural anyway, because it is very much like a first timers fun show. You know, you might get people that, you know, might be taking stuff, but it going to be more uncommon. Whereas PCA, I think there probably is a gap in the market because they could probably make a killing with naturals as well.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I just don't think they've got the staff for it, have they?
Unless they ran it by Two Bros, because some of the Two Bros natural shows, they do the natural in the morning, and then
That's true.
so they could do it like that. So they do
Yeah.
in the morning, and then they're tested in the afternoon.
I could see them doing that actually, like back-to-back days, like Saturday and then a Sunday show.
Or just
That'd
make
be
it like, because that's what Two Bros is. It's just a long day, isn't it?
Yeah, all that.
Just slam through them.
Yeah, they dominate, I think. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Give
Maybe
them
we should
ideas.
pitch it to them and ask for some percentage of the profits. Yeah.
Should we cut this part out?
What's that? Cut this
Cut
out.
this part out, yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I mean, we've covered most of the natural threads now, or we think we have. So I think it'd be cool to now dive into like, what are the potential differences between an enhanced person and a natural person, especially during a prep scenario? And in my opinion, obviously the fundamentals, they're pretty much all going to be exactly the same. Except obviously assisted people have assistants there to help them along their journey. So that's obviously generally why, generally, that's the right word, isn't it? Not genuinely. Generally why, obviously, the guys that go on stage are a little bit bigger because they've had assistants to get them there. But there are a few things to obviously consider. But the main principle I would say is that it's the same in terms of the hormonal perspective as well and the blood work. So I don't think this is often talked about within natural bodybuilding, or it hasn't been since I've really listened to like the WNBF podcast or anything like that, or the big natural bodybuilding coaches don't often talk about blood work. And I still think it's really important because like if someone's responding really well during a prep, you know, they're dropping fat lovely, their performance is still really good, then there's no real need to look at blood work if everything is going smoothly. But if you've got someone that's really struggling, or even in the growing season, you know, their performance just isn't going up, even though you're putting food in, and maybe they're just getting fat and they don't seem to be building any muscle, then it's really important, I think, to still look at your blood work. It's not just for assisted people. Because you know there are still natural supplements that you can take to help your your natural hormones levels, your thyroid function. It could be like so many different things going on. Have you ever done your bloods at all, Reece? Or
I've not. No, I've never done them. Obviously, I think with the people that I follow on socials and stuff like that, the bodybuilders that I follow, I'm seeing a lot of people transition to going enhanced, and seeing them do blood work, it makes me want to do it just to see where I am in a natural range. You know, the main thing is testosterone levels, just to see where am I at with testosterone levels, really. Any other markers regarding blood work, I'm not clued up on, to be honest. But no, I've never done it. I know you guys do it though, and I know, Matt, you're a massive fan of it as well.
Yeah. It's just because it can really help you out. So like just talking from a natural bodybuilding perspective, okay, so you have someone that wants to go into a prep, their body isn't responding in the best way possible. Yes, it's responding, but you think like, shit, I'm gonna have to push this person really, really fucking hard to get them show condition, right? You could get them to do their blood work and you could find something that's off, which is the whole reason why they're not responding in the best way possible. So for example, their cortisol levels might be through the roof. So stress management needs to come into play. If you can get their cortisol levels down, they're going to have a much better time in prep. Likewise, their thyroid function, if their T3 is like way down, then their metabolic rate is going to be like super low, and their calories are going to have to go way lower than they need to be. So obviously you don't want to go into prep with someone that's got a down-regulated thyroid before you even start, because as you go into prep, as you get deeper and deeper, that thyroid is only going to get lower and lower, their regulation. So you're going to have to push them so fucking hard, and it doesn't necessarily need to be the case. Yes, you can do it. Yes, you can get them into shape. You can pretty much get anyone into shape.
Yeah.
Like, everyone knows it just comes down to a calorie deficit, right? But some people's calorie deficits is going to be much nicer than others, and a lot of the time it can be down to their blood work, but also gut health. So there's a lot that comes into it. It would be interesting to see yours, Reece, to be fair, especially like mid off season, and then maybe off the back of prep, you can really see the differences, how your body responds, like if it responds really well and it's really resilient, or if anything that really does down regulate. Because during a prep, hormone function does plummet pretty much for most natural bodybuilders. So it would be interesting to see how resilient you are. But again, testosterone, like you mentioned, is a massive, massive factor, even for natural bodybuilders. Obviously, if you're assisted, it's really easy for us because we basically pin exogenous hormones to keep our testosterone levels up. Obviously, you guys can't do that. However, there are still things that you can do to obviously manage your testosterone. And if you get your blood work done before a prep scenario, you see that your testosterone is on the lower end of the natural range or even below, which can happen. Obviously, you're in a really shit position to start prep. So you might want to address that, get that to where it should be before you start your prep, right?
Yeah.
So there's quite a few different things that you can do for testosterone, for example. I mean, all your different hormones. But let's talk about testosterone because that is a really big one, right?
Yeah.
So you probably already know quite a few, Reece, what you can do. Go on, run through your ones that you would do to help your testosterone.
So honestly, I don't do a whole lot, but I do take testosterone boosters when I start prep. I'm not going to say what ones because I'll keep it exclusive to people on the team. What's that? Yeah, thank you. But no, I do take testosterone boosters, and that's pretty much it. That's all I'll do on a testosterone basis. Yeah, that's basically it.
I also want to make a point that testosterone gets a lot of stigma about being a male hormone, and females have it too. Because I nicely had a Karen point out, not obviously a Karen, but a Karen point out on my feed the other day when someone asked about the stack that I have, and I had testosterone supplements from CNP. Nice over-the-counter, shop-bought CNP, but some Karen decided to say, have a pop at me over it. In these testosterone supplements are mainly things like magnesium and zinc are going to be the main things, as well as a few other supplements. So as females, we also need to have a little bit of testosterone in our system. Yes, if you are jabbing, you are going to go over the superficial range, which means you are enhanced, which means you build more muscle. But as a normal human being, everyone, male or female, needs a good amount of testosterone. Obviously, testosterone for your energy, for your sex drive, but for mainly when it comes to bodybuilding, to build muscle and to help you recover. So it is really important as females to listen that also at the back end of prep, because that's what I had, my testosterone had plummeted because I am not putting testosterone in my system to support my prep, to keep my testosterone levels within a normal range. So obviously mine plummeted. So I was then taking supplements like magnesium and things like that, which are in this testosterone supplement, to try and look after and recover, as well as other things you can do, like obviously your stress, your sleep, your expenditure, the stress, I think I said that, your nutrition, everything will help bring that up. And it is a patience thing to rebuild it again. But it is really important to bear in mind that it is stereotyped as roids and men and big. Females, you need a healthy. So even if you were to get yours checked along with obviously your what we class female hormones, so your estrogen and things like that, it's good to be checked to make sure you are healthy, happy and everything. But I think there is that stigma about men and testosterone when actually we need it as well, because otherwise that is going to be one of the main reasons when you're absolutely fucked after prep is probably because your testosterone has taken a massive hit, and that's something that you want to recover as well.
Yeah, sure. Definitely. It's definitely regarded as a female hormone estrogen and a male hormone testosterone, but it's not the case. Like G said, we both have each different type, but obviously females have slightly lower testosterone function, but testosterone amount, sorry. But yeah, absolutely. So as Reece pointed out, supplementation is one of the ways that you can help boost your testosterone. Definitely help keep it, within range, towards the higher range, preferably. It's never going to take you above your natural range, but it can definitely help you, especially during a prep scenario. That's the right time to deploy it. But if you get your blood work done mid off season and you're down the lower end, then you can still implement it, get that up there. So other than that, so usually the main ingredients within a testosterone booster supplement would be zinc, magnesium, and also vitamin D. You can also take ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is a really good one, naturally boosts your testosterone, but it's also good for cortisol management, keeps your stress levels down, which is a really, really good thing. So other than that, you can also do lifestyle factors. That's the only other real way to boost your testosterone. So good sleep, very, very fucking important. Making sure you get at least 8 hours. Stress management, briefly touched upon that a minute ago. Like, that's so important for testosterone levels. And then just exercise, but obviously we all already do that. So as long as you're doing all those, you're doing the right thing to have your testosterone within a normal, happy, healthy range. But yeah, it depends what blood work marker might be out, but there's so many different things that you can do and you should do to make sure that you're in the most prime position to go into prep, essentially. So that is still kind of the same as an assisted user. That's all we do at the end of the day when we get our blood work checked. It's to make sure everything is okay in a happy, healthy range, and if there's anything that we can do to get better. Same for natural bodybuilders. I think they should do the same. Unless, of course, you're someone like Reece who just responds really well anyway. Then you probably don't really need to, but it can still be cool to see where you are at with things.
That's it. It's still nice to know where you are at within yourself, isn't it? And see those numbers. But I just quickly want to expand on what you were saying there. I think one thing that I don't know why, I don't know why we do it, whether it's intentional or not, just as human beings. But I feel like sleep gets so undermined. Especially since I've been online coaching, because I've not had to be up at totally different times of the day depending on PT clients. I've had a lot of time to work on bedtime routines, morning routines, and kind of optimizing my sleep. And since doing that over the last probably 4, 5, 6 months, my sleep has been the best it's ever been. Therefore, performance in the gym has been so much better. General day-to-day energy levels have been so much better. Obviously, this can go a little bit deeper. It's probably more so to do with hormone levels and stuff like that. But if you're thinking about going into a prep, you're going into that with a sleep pattern that's all over the place. How are your hormones going to look? How is your performance in the gym going to look? Your energy levels, all those other things, your nutritional choices, So I think sleep is definitely one of those most important factors. Obviously, we've got training, diet, that's the basics. But the next most important thing for me is sleep, 1,000,000%.
Definitely. I mean, we had Dr. Emily Wilkinson on last week, and she's basically specializes in nutrition. And she said sleep is one of the biggest factors because sleep can skew, again, your cortisol. So it can raise your cortisol levels up super, super high, which is the worst thing you really want within a bodybuilding scenario. But also it can skew your leptin and your ghrelin hormones. So it can make you really, really hungry and crave things you don't usually crave on top. So what happens during a prep scenario? Usually your sleep gets a bit fucked. So it's definitely something that you want to take into account and make sure that you are doing as best as you can. So we can briefly touch upon that, don't you? What's your sleep routine, Reece?
Do you actually want my full routine, do you?
Yeah, go on. That's it.
Okay. So it's nothing drastic, but what I'll do 60 minutes before bed, that's when I'll start reducing screen time. So that's TVs, phone, whatever, obviously laptop. So I'll reduce screen time. I might put a podcast on something, but I'll go through 20 to 30 minutes of stretching, and I'll try and do this every night. Usually it's 5 nights, typically after a gym session day. So I'll do that. So obviously, as we know, stretching activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which kind of calms us down, slows heart rate, kind of gets you feeling tired, which is why I do it before bed. So I'll do that. I'll go and brush my teeth. I then might go and read 5-10 pages of my book. I might write quickly something about my day, just as like as a review. That's basically a swap out for using my phone. By that point anyway, I'm pretty knackered and I'm ready to go to bed. So that is literally it. I've also just bought a new alarm clock. So 30 minutes before it's meant to go off, very slowly there'll be like a sunrise imitating light. So when I wake up, it's like a nice gentle wake up with a little sunrise in my room, birds tweeting, and then I wake up and I'm like, right, I'm actually ready to get up and go now, because I've looked after myself before going to bed, and I've woken up in a proper way rather than just going flicking the lights on or trying to wake up in the pitch black. Just implementing those small things have made a big difference, and they don't take up too much time. And I think that's a lot of people's excuse is, I go to the gym late, I finish work at 5, I get home, have some food, go to the gym, and I get home and have dinner, and before I know it, it's 10 o'clock. And it's like, well, that's fine. From that point onwards, just chill, give it your time. This is your time to do what you want to do. You don't have to sit there scrolling through TikTok like I think most people do. It's a case of actually prioritizing yourself, your health, and whatever your priorities are, putting that first, and building a little routine. It does not take long.
Yeah.
What's your routine?
I don't have one anymore. I've got really shit with it. I did have one and it worked really well, but unfortunately I'm a bit of a gamer, Reece, and I do play games at night, but I'm quite fortunate in the fact that my sleep's bloody good anyway. Like, I always have 8 hours no matter what, so I don't really need to sacrifice gaming. However, when it gets deeper into prep and my sleep does start to struggle towards the end, I wasn't doing any gaming because I needed to sort that out. So then I had a routine. I usually read before going to bed. I also have a sleep mask. Like, blocks out all the light. It's got Bluetooth speakers in there, and I listen to like sleep hypnosis.
Oh, nice.
And it worked as a treat for me. So when my sleep struggles, I do have that. And I also use sleep aids as well. Because Supreme Sleep by Qantas is pretty good, or Brain Gains is really good as well. Mainly the main ingredients in there that works is, again, it's ashwagandha. And also 5-HTP. So both those ingredients are really good for helping you sleep. If anyone does struggle with sleep, you can buy those ingredients separately from Amazon, like dirt cheap. You don't have to get the branded products, but the branded products taste a little bit nicer. So, and it's easier to just drink.
Sorry, quick interruption. I was also taking, I don't do it anymore, but I was also taking Sleep X by USN, which I found really useful. And that's got the same ingredients. And I think if you are buying a sleep supplement, just look into the ingredients and make sure they are kind of topped up with the correct serving sizes to make sure you get the actual dosage hit from it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 100%. Always do that. Like, I recommend that. Just look at the ingredients panel, maybe compare it to the competition as well, because sometimes people, they're very clever with their marketing. It seems like a great product, but actually the back panel's shit. So yeah, definitely read that. But go on, what's your nighttime routine?
Yeah, because I get up so early. I'm definitely more of a morning routine person. I like the logic of being awake when everyone else is asleep and getting a chunk of stuff done, whether I'm in prep or not. But yeah, I'm normally upstairs, I try and get screen time off, but I'm so bad for like replying clients of an evening. I've got to stop. Because it's not the end of the world. I've been waiting till the morning.
I always tell her off. She doesn't have a cut-off time.
But I have to answer clients. But anyway, I need to be stricter with that. But yeah, normally like 9 o'clock or 8:30, I try and get upstairs to bed. And recently, as of the last few weeks, I've got back into reading because I did get into like loads of mindset books. And they really, I like that idea of things. But I think touching on the fact, like when people say, well, they don't get back till like 10 o'clock or whatever, and then they need to like have the you time. But at the end of it, or me time, whatever it is, I think you've got to understand if that is your routine anyway, you know it's coming. So it's not a surprise. So now I remember I used to prep my whole food for a week. Yes, it might be boring because you might be eating the same foods every day, but you can literally cook up mint, chicken, you can get microwave rice, you can literally portion control everything, freeze all of it. And I literally used to take out my meals for the next day, the night of, so it would defrost. Then I had it all day, so I didn't have to think about meal prepping and what am I going to eat. And like I said, yes, it might be boring, but mix it up each week. If you've got like the weekends off, or you have a day off in the week that you're not going to the gym because you train in the evenings, and say on a Wednesday you don't train of an evening, those hours that you'd be at the gym, use that as your midway point for meal prep, and you know what you're doing all the time. So it's not a shock that you're home at 10 and you've got nothing, you suddenly have to do loads. Like just planning your time to know it's coming, then you can still make sure you prioritize sleep. And sometimes it might be the fact, just get up a bit earlier. Again, yes, sleep is a massive thing, but do you have to be in bed? Like some people say they don't have time for training and cardio in the gym. So I'm like, well, you won't miss 20 minutes in bed in the morning. So get up and do a 20-minute HIIT workout in your house. And that's a great start to your day. It warms you up in this weather anyway. And then you set yourself up for the morning and you bashed out a load of cardio that takes your mental stress because you haven't got to think about dragging yourself through it later. So definitely the way you plan your days and the way you see stuff. And I've had a few clients get that light as well. And they said, because it's to combat that sad, isn't it? And they said it's really helped with things like that. So it is little things like that. Like if it's going to help your mental health and set you up for the day, the weeks, the mornings, the nights, whatever, then it's definitely worth doing.
That's it. And I've had a similar conversation with a couple of clients now where they've gone, I've got so much to do. I've got to go to work. I've got to go to uni. I've got to go to the gym. I'm prepping for a show, whatever it is. I just don't have time to do all of this. And we've sat down and it's just, it to a lot of people, it can be like obsessive or over the top, but it's a case of just sit down, literally write from the hour you get up to the hour you go to bed, what you do within that time. And then you actually condense down the things that you're doing, because you're probably procrastinating a lot of your time going through Instagram or TikTok or whatever people do. And once you actually condense that time and once again prioritize yourself and what you want to achieve, you've probably found that 2-hour window within your week where you can prep all of your meals. And it doesn't have to be boring. It can be boring. I don't mind it being boring. I'm sure you guys are probably the same, because bloody bodybuilders, we don't really care. We just eat whatever's on the plate. But it doesn't have to be boring. Like, me and Holly would sit down every Sunday and we would plan out what we're prepping for our lunches. Obviously, Holly would go to work with hers, I'd be at home, and then we'd organise what we're having for dinner. So not only are we having different meals each night for dinner, but we're also saving money on a food shop because we've worked out everything that we need, the amount of ingredients we need. And then you just feel so much better for it mentally as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
100% agree there. There's a post that always goes around, isn't there? Like, if you say that you don't have time, go onto the settings on your iPhone, look at your screen time,
Yeah.
and you'll know where your time's gone. Like, it is 100% a fact, isn't it? But so we've pretty much covered. I mean, we haven't actually gone into much detail the difference between assisted users and natural users, because essentially it's the same.
Yeah.
We do the same thing. Like, there's a lot of people. It's not a cheat sheet. A lot of people say, you know, you need to prioritize your sleep and your recovery and things like that more if you're a natural bodybuilder. But no, you need to do it all exactly the same, whether you're assisted or you're natural. So that's the main take home, I think, on that subject. And that's why we haven't really talked about it that much, because there isn't much to say, really. Of course, there's a lot.
Something, though.
What's that?
Even as a natural, I want to add something. People would assume that because you take gear, it's easier, right? Oh, it's easier. You don't have to do as much. Arguably, I would say it's probably harder, because you've got another, as I was talking about earlier, you've got another pillar into all the complexity that you've got already that you've got to manage as well. So just because you are taking stuff, it doesn't, well, at least from an outsider looking in, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be easier, does it?
And it's a really dense pillar as well. There's a lot that goes into PED, like between doing it right and really doing it fucking wrong. Like, there's a lot that can happen there. So it is like a whole nother aspect to bodybuilding. So yeah, I do agree with you in that sense. Yeah, 100%. It's like, I mean, I've done both. And I would say it's not easier. It's not any more difficult. It's exactly the same principle. Nothing really changes. So we did get a few questions, Reece.
Okay, interesting.
Questions. So interestingly, we always get more questions whenever we do the anonymous one, of course. So the one I got on here, 2 seconds, mate. I'll do the anonymous ones first.
I look forward to it. Are they all bodybuilding based, or are they a bit?
It's all about the subject, really. Okay, so how do you know what you can and can't take as a natural? Some pre-workouts even have some banned substances on, for example.
Well, I guess you kind of answered your own question there. Look at the banned substances list. I think Matt had you had a good experience, didn't you, with emailing, I'm not going to say the federation, but emailing the federation.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, well, it's not on the list, so it's fine.
Yeah, they're really rude about it.
I was listening to another podcast the other day where they double checked. So some females do take testosterone to bring them within normal range if they generally have so it's not technically like a superphysiological range. It's literally just making them normal. So they questioned, I won't say said federation, but they said on the podcast, they sent an email and they said and she emailed back.
Will it rude again?
Yeah, literally basically what you said. Like,
no,
if it's not on the list, but she had to email 2 or 3 times, and I think it was the second or third email because they completely ignored her, and they basically just shut her down and called her stupid. So
the substance I asked about was your Hinbine. Basically, it's actually illegal to buy from. I'm pretty sure it's illegal to buy from shops. It's really hard to get anyway, and it's a bit of like a grey area. It's essentially a fat burner for anyone that doesn't know. You need to take it in a fasted state. I won't get into the details of it, but yeah, it's a fat burner, helps you get shreddy, basically. So it's a bit of a grey area. It wasn't on the WADA list. So the WADA list is what they go by, basically. You can type in a particular ingredient or substance, and it should tell you if it's banned. Wasn't on there. So I thought I'd double check, because I think we had like 4 clients competing with that specific fed. Did not want to get them banned because they tested everyone. And yeah, they gave me a really shitty reply saying, well, it's not on the list and you've answered your own question. I was like, yeah, basically, yeah.
What a stupid question.
Yeah. Sorry for double checking.
Yeah, but no, that question is actually right, because I think Molly said basically that sometimes the ingredient isn't on the WADA list. because if you have too much of it, then it gets flagged up or something. So
partner had done a bit of research into it or
yeah,
something.
so sometimes it's not even on the list and you can still get flagged up for failing a drug test. So it is very difficult. All you can do, I would say you can ask the feds, but sometimes they're dickheads.
Maybe go to a natty fed that's nice.
Yeah.
And does answer your questions.
Yeah, if anyone wants to know what fed that is, just message me. I'm not going to sit on here, but message me.
Yeah.
But most of the time you can just type it into the WADA website and it will tell you. That's like the governing body for the testing process. Some federations are a lot more strict with their testing than others. Two Bros, natural shows. I don't think I know anyone that's ever been tested. But WNBF, they polygraphed everyone. And they did urine samples as well.
And you had to pay for your own polygraph.
You
So
have to
just
pay
remember
for
for that as
yeah.
well.
And UKDFBA, I'm pretty sure was urine test, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that was urine test. So each one's very different. So again, if you want to make sure that you're definitely on a level playing field, then you want to take that into account as well. Because not saying it does happen, but you might get some fake natties doing like a Two Bro show.
There's always that potential, isn't there?
Yeah, some sort of genetic freak turned up that was natty and won. I think if enough people were like, no, testing, like they'd have to because it is a natty show.
Yeah.
Like, so I feel like there'll be limits there.
Yeah, I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I've heard a lot of, or a couple of federations. I don't know who, but apparently they only test the winner a lot of the time.
Oh, but you don't know which one that one is?
I don't know who. I had a don't quote me, but I had a feeling it was UKDFBA, but by the sounds of it, it's not.
Say that. I want to say that that's what
saying that. Yeah, our guys didn't. I don't remember them saying they got tested. I think they say that they're going to test them, but I think maybe they only do the winners. Yeah.
One we went to, that guy was generally like some sort of genetic freak. He looked insane for a natty.
Yeah.
So
I'd like to think they tested them.
Yeah.
Balls to turn up to a natural show otherwise if you're not.
No, right. Yeah, what's the point?
Especially when you look so good. I feel like if you look good as a natural, you're doing it to prove a point, to shut people up.
Yeah.
Not if you're actually on gear to go to a natural
and then
show.
you fail the drug test, you're like, fuck.
Yeah. That was the pre-workout.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you could, as I said, go on the website. If you're unsure, then just message like Reece or message me or G.
Yeah.
Like we're more than happy to help. I'll ask that question last. What do you think is the best natural bodybuilding federation?
I've not competed in any, so I guess I can't, or even been to any, so I guess I can't really answer this.
Okay.
That's a really tough question, isn't it? That's a really tough one.
Mm.
I'm going to answer it as if I'm a natural competitor.
Okay.
I would go for Two Bros because I'd want that IFBB Pro card.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Good shout.
Literally the only, and also from what I've seen, they're not as busy. Like the days aren't as long. Like as I said, UKDFBA and WNBF, they're really long days.
Very long days.
When I compete, I don't like long days. I like to once you've done Two Bros, that's it. You're done. You're off, right?
Yeah.
UKDFBA, the men's physique's always right at the end of the day. And WNBF, you have your morning show, and then you've still got to wait until the evening show. So you're there all day.
Yeah, because they all. Is that like UKUP then? They present at the very end of the day. Yeah, that's long, isn't it?
Yeah, but you also got to do your eye walk at the end of the day as well with WNBF. So you've got to hold your look.
Yeah, comparisons, and then it's back for eye walk.
And they take it into account too. Like we've seen basically girls that weren't looking like they were going to place, they smashed their eye walk and then they did gain some points back.
Yeah.
So you do need to hold your look.
No pizzas then.
no pieces.
Yeah. What would you say?
I would probably say Two Bros for that reason, because again, like being the fact that I can't even sniff a carb in the lead up to, like I can't even carb up, let alone like in peak week, let alone have any food on my show day. So having to wait like for that long, I would struggle.
Yeah.
So I do, not that you want to rush, like you work that hard, you don't want to rush your show day and be like, just get it over and done with and get me food. It's more the fact like you are a little bit clock watching and stuff. Like I want to enjoy the day. It doesn't need to be too early, but have a good vibe, good time on stage, have enough time to enjoy the evening as well, not just be sat on the floor with your feet up at 10 o'clock at night when you're on.
I think that's a good answer though, isn't it? Because I agree, and I do feel like if you can turn up, do what you're there to do, and then you get presented everything. I think that is, as a competitor, definitely the most preferred outcome for sure.
Yeah, I get it because they want to keep people around for the atmosphere and things like that. But
Yeah.
like, you're not going to cheer people on you don't know anyway, are you? So just let us get our trophy and go home.
Yeah, basically.
Right, next question. Can natural bodybuilding ever become as big as assisted bodybuilding, like competition / prizes, he put?
My answer would be no. And that's because what do you go to bodybuilding shows for? You go to see the freakiest, bad looking physique. Then it's also, I'm slightly going off topic. This also begs the question of, imagine if we had like an actual Olympics with enhanced athletes. I know that a lot of them probably are anyway, but if they were actually allowed to be enhanced, everyone would go and watch that instead of the normal Olympics, because you get people running 100 meters in 5 seconds. And then it's the same for actual bodybuilding. I think you want to go and see the nuttiest, mad looking physique. So my answer is no, I don't think it will be.
Yeah, I agree. It's weird you say that, because I actually spoke about that on our Instagram about the Olympics. If everyone could just get geared out of their head, like, it would be more
Oh,
instant.
mate, it'd be so good to watch, wouldn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, so I agree. It's essentially the same as strongman, right? If all the strongmen were natural, like, people wouldn't be that bothered about watching it. They want to watch the freaks. They want to watch, the big ass dudes. So it's, yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it will ever be as big. Like, it's definitely growing, which is amazing. I'm a big supporter of that. But yeah, I can't see it ever being as big. What about you, G?
Yeah, I guess not, especially from like a bikini aspect is a little bit different. Because I mean, well, to be fair, it isn't really. When you look at like Olympia and the girls there, like, yes, they're trying to keep that femininity with a little bit of softness, but you need to still be pretty jacked to be on that Olympia stage. Otherwise, like, that's what creates your shape. Like, otherwise you are a skinnier bikini girl. You need to either have good genetics, or you need to have a shit ton of muscle and things like that. So, and that's what it's such a weird thing, isn't it? You need to be so jacked as a bikini girl, but look so feminine with it. Like, obviously it then balance goes into other, you've got figure and all that, but from a bikini standpoint, I don't, genetics would have to play a massive part to pull off the best of both, I think, when it comes to pro level. Obviously, for now and everything like that, it's not the end of the world. But if you want to get on that Olympia stage, there is that look that you need to level up for.
Sure.
Yeah. So we all pretty much say no.
Yeah.
I don't want to, but yeah, I'll have to say no.
I mean, the opportunities that are coming with it now, like you said, we're going to Vegas and things like that. But if you want to be that top tier of Olympia, like, whatever class you're in, they are just huge.
Yeah.
That's it. But then I guess that kind of begs the thing about the men's physique, because there is, at least I think, a bit of controversy with how ridiculously big these men's physique guys are getting. I remember seeing a photo of Brandon Hendrickson and Breon. I think it was after the 21 Olympia. And mate, Brandon Hendrickson, for those that don't know, is a men's physique athlete, typically smaller guys, was bigger than Breon Ainsley, a classic a classic physique Olympian who's actually won the classic physique as well. And this guy's bigger, wearing a pair of board shorts. And it's almost like, well, actually, does that not ruin the point? Because the way men's physique started out was actually that typical desirable beach body kind of look. Which I think is a lot more, I guess, attainable from a natural perspective compared to having these massive blokes that are 120 kilos shredded on stage.
Yeah, I think that pretty much proves our point as well, isn't it? Because if natural bodybuilding and having an attainable physique was popular, they would have kept that small, but it's just got bigger and bigger because that's what people want to see at the end of the day. So yeah, I think I answered that one. Last question, Reece. I'll let you answer this one, mate.
Oh God, okay.
Who would win if you two went against each other on stage?
UKDFBA, me. Nah. That's a good question, because obviously, from an actual statistic perspective, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because obviously, you've got that competition where Brad beat you and then I beat Brad, but then also you've made some crazy improvements since we actually got on stage at a similar time. So I think it'd be a really, really good showing. But I think you would just about edge me, I think.
Oh, he's just being nice, isn't he?
I'm not.
It would be interesting because, well, if it was at the beginning of last year, Reece would smoke me, I would say. Just because you had the shreds, you got a really, like, even though I was 84 on stage, 84 kilos, but we proved that, you know, size doesn't matter. Like, as you said, Brad beat me. He came first, I came second, then you beat Brad. So, yeah, by default, you would have smoked me. End of the year, I was a bit bigger. I was about 5 kilos heavier, so I think it'd be close.
Yeah.
This year, I'm aiming to be about 5 kilos heavier again.
He's coming for shit on me this year, isn't he? He's like, yeah, man, I'm going to wipe the floor with you now.
So I'm going to say it'll be close, but we might find out at the end of this year.
Well, I reckon we might. To be fair, it depends what shows we're looking to do. But I'm hoping to compete in September and October to qualify for finals. Sorry, obviously in October. So we may meet again there.
Yeah, we'd have to both get in the overall because I think you'll be in medium and I'll be in full. So yeah, we'll both smash our category and then we'll meet in the overall.
Yes, I look forward to it. What do you think, Georgia?
Oh shit! Wow, going on both of you.
To be fair, G is very honest with me. She always tells me if she sees someone that's better than me, she's like, he's going to beat you.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like Matt would be the same with me. If I get him to look at me, I don't want him to be like, yeah, you look good. I want him to be like, no, you've still got fat on your legs. You've got to keep digging. Like, be realistic. So being realistic, going off what you both looked like last year, Matt does have the size, but you came in a lot more conditioned because you just struggled with the condition side of things. So it's like the pros and cons where you always get someone who can put on the size and you get someone that gets lean. So it is those things. So I think if you could get leaner, especially in your back, then you would be competition because that's Reece's strength. So I think that's going to be the main thing because you've both got, I think something to consider as well is how you look when you're lean. You've both got a very aesthetic look for men's physique. You've got the wide shoulders with the small waist. So it is going to come down to you playing your strengths. So with you, with your size and you with your condition, if you can make sure, and again, your presentation, you're both quite confident on stage. So it's going to be on the day. Again, I think as well, if you've brought your best, how you peak yourselves. Because it's all those little things that will make the difference on that day if you are both bringing your best, because you both will have leveled up. You're both very confident on stage and you both fit in a category. So it is going to be properly who can make themselves stand out, who can bring their condition. And like we saw before, it might not always be about size. If Reece can bring condition or even make himself look more desirable on that lineup. So it is going to be, you just have to make sure you definitely bring your condition. Yeah. You have to make sure you bring your condition as well, so squeeze your back fat.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna stick some weight gainer in your intra workout.
I was gonna say I might get you those dissolvable shorts, you know, when they dissolve. Might get you them for the stage.
Seen it on Lean Girls where she's feeding the other girl what she says protein bars.
Oh,
bars,
yeah.
That high fat bars to keep weight on, and she basically gaining loads of weight. He's going to be like, have these protein bars here. Fat gaining bars.
Oh mate, try this backstage.
Yeah. Over spills. Yeah. Backpacks hanging over his fortune.
That'll be a good look.
No, it'll be good though, and whoever does win, like, mate, I'll be buzzing for you if you won either way. Because if you beat me,
obviously,
I would expect you to get the PCA Pro card, mate. So that's how I'm going to see it.
Well, I like that. I like that little ambition, but mate, I'm genuinely even talking about it now. Like, it gets me so fired up to compete this year. I can't wait. It's going to be such a good show.
Fuel to the fire between you both.
Throughout the year.
Yeah. I'm not on prep, so I've got energy to do this.
Stir the pot.
Keep you both motivated.
Yeah.
I like it.
Nah, brilliant, mate. Well, I think we covered that topic pretty well. Yeah, we went off on a few tangents. I think this is our longest podcast so far. So if anyone's still with us, fair play to you. That's about an hour and 25 minutes. So
Has it been that long? Bloody hell. Apologise if we've been blabbing, guys.
Yeah, no, we've just been having a catch up.
Yeah. No, it's a good podcast, mate. Great to have you on. Good luck to your year, but not too much luck, because No, I'm excited to see your progress, mate. And obviously we train in the same gym, so I'll see Reece all the time. But if you've got any questions at all on anything that we discussed today, please feel free to message any of us. Reece, what's your socials?
Literally just my name, Reece Kyffin. That's Kyffin is Kyffin for those that
is a bit illiterate like me.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it, but yeah, it's just my name across the board and everything.
Perfect. I'll write it at the bottom anyway. So yeah, thanks for listening, guys, and we will catch you in the next one.
Bye.
Thank you.